You are laughing at your screen, mid-bite, and suddenly there is silence where your voice should be. In another scenario, hands close around a neck from the outside, vision narrows, and what felt like a controlled situation becomes a countdown you cannot see. Same word is used for two different situations with completely different anatomy. Let us separate them clearly the way the body does, and while we're at it, let's bust some myths as well. True choking is an internal airway obstruction, the classic food stuck in the throat situation. When you swallow, food is supposed to travel down the esophagus, also called the food pipe, leading to stomach, while air travels through the trachea, also called the windpipe, leading to the lungs. Air can pass down both the tubes, but food and any other foreign object can be life-threatening if it goes off the course. To prevent this, there is a small flap of cartilage called the epiglottis that covers the opening of the trachea when you swallow so food does not enter the airway. Most of the time you can talk, breathe, and swallow without thinking about it because dozens of muscles and reflexes coordinate automatically in the background, and epiglottis works efficiently, preventing any mishaps. But when you laugh with a mouthful of food, or try to answer a question mid-bite, the brain momentarily prioritizes windpipe over food pipe. And that is when a poorly chewed piece of vegetable or a grape can escape epiglottis. If the obstruction is partial, a small amount of air can still pass through. The person may cough violently, produce high-pitched sounds, through which he can signal for help. But if the obstruction is complete, there is silence, no effective cough, and no speech. Air does not reach the lungs at all. Oxygen in the blood begins to fall within seconds, and the brain, which has almost no oxygen reserve, starts dying. Within 30 to 60 seconds, possible loss of consciousness may occur, and after roughly 4 to 6 minutes, irreversible brain injury is very likely. The Heimlich maneuver works by delivering an upward abdominal thrust just below the diaphragm. This helps because your lungs are not empty balloons. Even after a normal exhalation, they still contain about 2 to 3 liters of residual air. When you suddenly increase intra-abdominal pressure, it compresses the lungs, and that air comes out like an air cannon, ideally generating enough pressure to dislodge the object and expel it out of the airway. Death in this scenario is due to insufficient oxygen, leading to loss of consciousness, cardiac arrest, and eventually brain death if not reversed. Get help as soon as possible, and remember, don't treat dinner like a debate, swallow before you speak. Now let us move to the second scenario, choking from the outside. What most people casually call choking in this scenario is not technically choking at all, because choking refers to an internal blockage of the airway by a foreign object, whereas external neck compression is more accurately described as strangulation or asphyxiation. In many erotic contexts, the intent is not primarily to collapse the trachea and block airflow, but to compress the carotid arteries just enough to reduce cerebral blood flow, because this produces that lightheaded head rush euphoric sensation due to transient low brain oxygen and rising carbon dioxide levels. Loss of consciousness and vascular neck compression can occur surprisingly quickly, sometimes within seconds, because the brain has almost no oxygen reserve. If pressure is released quickly, consciousness may return just as fast, but prolonged compression leads to the same endpoint as internal choking, that is hypoxic brain injury and death. When someone applies pressure to the neck, several critical structures are at risk simultaneously. If force is applied even slightly incorrectly, it can crush the larynx, which is part of the passageway to lungs, and contains vocal cords, resulting in temporary or permanent loss of voice. It can also fracture the delicate cartilaginous rings of the trachea, or cause swelling that later obstructs the airway, meaning someone can appear fine initially and then deteriorate as swelling progresses without you even realizing what's wrong. There are also the jugular veins, which drain blood from the brain back to the heart. If the jugular veins are compressed, blood cannot drain efficiently from the brain. That causes blood to pool inside the cranial vault. Since the skull is a rigid box, that pooling increases intracranial pressure. As intracranial pressure rises, it begins to compress small cerebral arteries and capillaries from the outside, leading to facial paralysis, loss of a limb, or coma. As compared to internal choking, with external choking, death may result from a combination of reasons and is very hard to return to safety with a simple maneuver. So, the next time the weekend plays, I wrap my hands around your neck, you love it when I always squeeze. Maybe turn it off, tell your partner you love them, and pick a game of Scrabble instead. Keep your carotids and tracheas safe. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. If you want more videos like this, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. I'll see you very soon.